Is there any other questions before we kick on?
So on that, I think with Donut, there's been some changes to the. You might find that you can do fixed pixels. I think there's been a change there. I'll confirm that and get back to you.
So what is this called then? This rubbish, what's it called?
I know, you're actually looking at Eclipse and the Android development kit.
Plugin.
Yeah, it's actually running inside Eclipse.
Sorry, I just assumed, yeah. So you can get as Ash said, you get a plugin for this, and it will actually help you write this. So all of that, when I said that generated class, plugin does that for you. And just to show you, it kind of looks a bit nasty. So this is it here. You can see how it's got these integers that are mapping to certain memory addresses via hexadecimal numbers, and fortunately that does that for you. And then it will just go to these folders and pick up, your app name, etc. So it's actually separating your, the strings and your other resources like images and whatever, and then maps the two together. Okay. The other thing that I suppose I wanted to mention about Android, and I've sort of got some feedback from a few developers in the room to this as well, that the documentation on Android is quite good. If you want to go into part of the application framework and find out how something works, you can just do that and open up the source code, and it's quite good. The other thing, and sort of the last thing, is that with Google behind Android, it's going to make sure that all of its applications are released there before anywhere else. You probably heard of the debacle recently with Google Latitude that had to be a web app on the iPhone, this sort of thing. So there's a few things like that: Google Latitude, Google Sky Maps, Places Directory. Google Listen is just a podcast listener, which is nothing too huge. But again, they're still putting their resources into this, so it's going to win, I guess. The last thing I wanted to mention, I won't digress on this too much. So the group that I run is Android Australia, which we do hack nights and that sort of thing. Anyone who's interested in that can follow up with that. And any questions on anything we talked about? Have we gone too fast? Yeah.
Is there a decent application testing environment?
Yeah, so you can actually write, as part of the new SDK, you can run tests, you can install testing components as well at the same time, so it's not too bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got two questions. Number one is, how long would it take you to get a Hello World app up and running?
Not long at all. It's whenever you create a new application, it actually builds it for you.
Can you show it?
Yeah, sure. So in fact, I actually made this in about 5 minutes because I wanted to change the name to GTUG as the name of the project. So all I did was go File, I went to now File, Project, and then Android Project, and then just asked you to name, the packages and the activities, so that initial UI, and yeah, you can ask a question.
That's it. Yeah, and then you run it, and that's it. What does it do?
Okay. Well, it's actually already running on the emulator. I'll show you. Hello GTUG. So you can't see it, but this says hello GTUG, this is my activity brackets UI component. Now if I wanted to change that, and I'll just show you how it's quite easy to recompile an application and then install it. So you know how any web developer is pressing F9 to refresh the browser or whatever? It's quite easy to do a similar thing. So if I go to values, strings, these are my external strings, and I can just change this to say hello. What? I can type. It's this little finger, I cut it. Alright, hello Jay, how's that?
Yeah.
And if I just recompile this. Yes. It actually loads as soon as you install it. So if I did run now. Hello Jay, this is my activity. So it's reasonably quick to sort of hit that refresh button. Is there another question you had, Julie?
The one, I don't know how to pronounce it, with the mod, Cyanogen.
Cyanogen.
Cyanogen. So what's your view, what's the... What's the condensed version of it?
Now just remind me, because I read about this the other day, but I've been studying databases for the last 3 days. What happened with Synogen?
Oh, I thought you were really vocal about it.
From what I understand, he was releasing
That's right.
recompiled versions
Yep.
of Android with some of the beta features and some extra bits and pieces, sort of remixed a bit.
Yep.
But got a cease and desist from Google
The
because he
problem
was
was-
distributing some of the closed source apps as well.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. So he was distributing versions of the whole OS that had Google's actual apps on it. And I said before, there's no difference between Google's apps and the apps that ship with the applications and third party. That's correct. You can change them or whatever, but Google is retaining its IP in producing those applications. And so their issue was that if people are distributing them on their behalf, that's not something it wants. But I'm not sure why. I would have thought that they wanted their applications further out.
Yeah, there's a few issues behind that. First of all, just the distinction, Android is an open platform, but there are closed source apps like Market, Gmail, etc. that's contained when you buy an Android phone. And so what was happening was the redistribution of those was Google's issue. But it's also relating to the fact that when you buy, for example, a HTC Magic phone, that there may be some proprietary apps on there compared to the Samsung Galaxy phone, because hardware manufacturers, as you were mentioning before, Nick, was that they may decide to create their own proprietary contacts, or for example Microsoft Exchange, they'll have support for that on that particular model phone. So they want to be able to differentiate those phones from another vendor. Look, I think it was probably handled in a way that the modding community is not very happy about. I've actually been on the XDA forum where this modding community has been involved since I've actually owned XDA 2, which is I think 2003, old phone. So I've been around on that board for a long time. It was, everyone understands that Google has a right to do that, but it was just perhaps handled bit cludgingly, and since then actually there's been two Googlers who've actually been working with Synogen to help him release a new version, and in fact there was a new version that came out the other day, I think, Toby, is that correct?
That's right.
And I'm actually running on my phone, to be honest, and it's doing everything legitimately now, so it pushes his modifications to the platform, the open source bits, but you have to load up the closed source proprietary apps yourself. So that's a bit of an explanation there. Sorry.
Any other questions? Yep.
Is there an equivalent of the App Store for Android?
Yeah, it's called Market. Yep.
How does that work? Is that much the same?
Amin or Ash, do you want to tell us about your experience with it?
It's actually a pleasant experience because there is no review process. Unlike iPhone, you can actually submit it and your apps are available instantly for consumer download. In a similar way to App Store, your apps get reviewed by the community. You are able to actually publish any content app up there, but if any of the community deems that it violates the terms and conditions, then it can get ripped down. So Google have indicated that Market aren't, in a similar way to App Store, must not have any pornographic material in it. It doesn't prohibit you from getting it on there, but as soon as a community member identifies that, then it will get removed.
Other questions?
Does Google take a cut?
Yes, they do. Good question. And that's actually been a bit of a misconception from the beginning. At the moment, overall Australians are actually able to sell on Market at the moment, and that's because they haven't actually given developer licenses to Australia. I think US and a couple of places in Europe are the only places that enable developers to sell. Sorry, what was the question again?
Do they take a cut?
Yeah, sorry. So they actually take, in the same way that Apple do, a 30% cut of all apps sold. Yeah.
Other questions? Right. Well, I think we might wrap it up there and head to the bar.
Excellent.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yep. No worries.